Swain, we have seen questions come in over the last at least week and a half or so since news came out that, okay, Mike Matthews is going to stay and Amari Jefferson is going to transfer in. And while questions remain about the wide receiver group, some answers came in at least in terms of what the personnel will look like, who the players will be. Now it's about how can they perform. Can they add one more? That's still there. But more questions came in saying, okay, well, what about the guys up front? What's the offensive line look like? Maybe that's a bigger question from a personnel standpoint in a few spots. Center is to be determined. At least one of the guard spots with Wendell Moe transferring in, I would bet on him being a starter as a transfer from Arizona.
If he's not, then we have a problem.
Probably.
Yeah. I was just checking the show prep notes. I didn't see anything about wide receivers in the first segment. You mentioned them, and it kind of triggered me a little bit. So I'm glad that
I treated them like a puddle, just kind of skipped on over.
All right, cool. I just wanted to make sure that you're not setting me up for what is that? Are you putting it in there? Yeah, like Tennessee still needs to get an offensive lineman. I mean, we know why we're in this position, but you still got to go out there and get someone that you feel like they can hold up in the SEC, someone that can protect Nico and be able to be counted on in the running game. I mean, Tennessee's done a really good job in the last couple of years of producing 2,000-yard rushing offenses, and you can't expect for that to change and still expect to have results or want the results that you want. So you got to take pressure off the passing game. You got to continue to run the football, and you got to have guys up front who are talented and can do that. So that's a big blow. You're going to strike out, but you can't continue to strike out because you need, I feel like, another player in the perimeter. In the interior.
Feel free to say, yeah, Captain Obvious, when I bring this up. But as there are questions on the offensive line, Tennessee does have a lot of offensive linemen. They've signed a lot of guys in the last few years.
They're not experienced.
That's also true.
They're not experienced. So
Lance Hurd is a returning starter.
Yep, probably the most experienced.
Well, right now we believe Tennessee is operating as if Andre Karch is not coming back. So if that's the case, then Lance Hurd is the only returning starter. At Tennessee, Moy is a guy that has started a lot just elsewhere.
Yeah.
As a transfer coming in. But, yeah, I mean, that's a conversation that's just kind of been hanging out there that is now probably going to come up more often and louder. Is, okay, all these guys, will we see the development this year? And, again, Tennessee could add another player. It's also kind of telling that they've decided, hey, we need to go get 2 guards in the transfer portal. They've landed one. They've gone after a couple of others, and to this point have not added a second. But it says something that they're continuing to go after guys that could come in and start right away. Pregnant was not coming in to compete for a starting position. He was coming in to start.
Yeah, absolutely. Last recruiting class, the question with any of the offensive linemen that Tennessee was able to sign and get was how soon will they be ready to play and contribute? Because we knew that the guys we brought back, the Cooper Mays, the Devontae Spraggins, the John Campbells, that after they finished up their eligibility, that Tennessee was going to be in a weird spot. Either you're going to have to go back to the portal and buy an offensive line, piece them together, guys that had not played together before. That's the thing about the past 2 seasons on the offensive line. Yeah, like you wanted more success from your offensive line, but those guys have played together. And playing offensive line is like synchronized swimming. Like you have to step together as one, and you need reps to do that. I remember when Ramon Foster was with the Steelers, and those guys, when Ben Roethlisberger was the quarterback, that was the best offensive line in the league at one point. But those guys had played together a lot of snaps. And so you can't have one guy stepping one way while everybody else stepping in a different way. It opens up a hole and a void for the defense. So the goal was to either go buy an offensive line, which, hey, you can go get someone that's maybe more experienced, maybe physically more developed, but you're piecing together some guys that haven't played together. You can do that in basketball, but it's kind of hard to do that in football, especially in the offensive line. Or the players that you have signed in a recruiting class last year, they have to be guys that you feel like can come out in 2025 starting the moment they hit on campus. It was about preparing them to be contributors in their redshirt freshman year. And so you have a couple players that maybe you can do that with. Tennessee, you're going to look at the 2024 recruit class, and you look at the offensive line that Tennessee was able to build. You signed 5 offensive linemen. You signed Bennett Warren out of Texas as a tackle, Max Anderson out of Texas as a tackle, William Satterwhite as a interior offensive line, Jesse Perry and Gage Ginther. So what's the plan? Are we rolling with some young dudes, or are you bringing in guys from the portal? It has to be one or the other, or maybe a mixture of both, but those are your two options. And
like one of those guys could be the starting center.
Yeah.
Because we're really talking about 2 positions right now.
Yeah. And you knew you were going to be here 2-3 years ago.
Right.
Like, you knew you were going to be here. It's kind of like driving Chattanooga. You know at some point you're going to pass Cleveland. And so there's no reason to act surprised. You're like, oh, my gosh, it's a target right there. It's been there. It's always there. You're going to pass Cleveland on your way to Chattanooga. That's what you're going to get. And so we knew at some point you're going to have to either play some young dudes and make sure they're developed, guys that you recruited, or you're going to have to go to the portal and probably overspend because players know that you need them. And when they know you need them, they're going to hike the prices up.
Yeah, at some point, Cooper Mays, Javonte Spraggins, and John Campbell were leaving. Same with Andre Karch.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And at one point, the thought was that they would leave 12 or
13 months ago, but
they came back for one more year. At least 3 of those guys came back for one more season, which was good for Tennessee, but that just delayed the inevitable, that they were going to have to be replaced.
Correct.
And that time is now.
Time is now here.